Welcome to Becoming is Messy, where we dive deep into the journey of survival, transformation, and everything in between. I'm your host, Meghann Dawson, here to share the honest, unfiltered stories behind my own process of becoming. Life isn't a pretty and perfect straight line, and neither is becoming the person we're meant to be. Here, we embrace the ups, the downs, and all the beautiful, chaotic, messy moments that shape who we are. Whether you're in the thick of change or reflecting on past transformations, this space is for real conversations about what it means to grow, stumble, and rise again. So get comfy, settle in, and let's get messy. Welcome back, Messies, to another episode of Becoming is Messy. Today, we're diving into a conversation that sits right at the intersection of neuroscience, cravings, emotional patterns, and the stories we tell ourselves about who we think we are. This episode sits right inside the heart of the imperfect level up, especially our L, lean into your unique healing needs, which is exactly what Dr. Regina teaches, that your biology has needs, rhythms, and signals, and listening to them is not weakness, it is wisdom. Our guest today, Dr. Regina Gysel, is a global leader in understanding sugar cravings, anxiety, poor sleep, and chronic low mood through the lens of brain chemistry. She helps people break free from carb addiction, anxiety loops, depression, and insomnia using targeted amino acid therapy. And she trains physicians to move their patients out of willpower-based cycles and into actual biochemical balance. Her work is compassionate, grounded, and wildly liberating, and her insights will change how you think about your cravings and maybe a little bit about how you think about yourself. Dr. Regina, I'm so happy to have you with us. Thank you for joining us.
So grateful, Meghann, to be here with you. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you. To help get our conversation started, help share a little bit just about this current season that you are in personally. What are a few words you would use to describe this current season for you?
Looking at white snow, I'm in Switzerland. I'm at 1,000 meters above the sea level, so already had the nice snowfall. And it honestly feels like Christmas here.
That's funny because I'm here in Madison, Wisconsin, and now I feel like we are connected because I too woke up to snow this morning, which I was not expecting. So looking out my window, I went to go take the dog out, and there was a blanket of snow on the floor. There we go. Next, we'll go backwards a little bit now. All of our journeys have their bit of messiness on our becoming. Walk us through just some of the twists and turns of your background.
Well, I'm a physician and I was originally trained as an eye doctor because I was just like so passionate about, healing other people. And I grew up in Lithuania where, our household was pretty holistic. So you would not go to a doctor if you just got a regular cold, and you really have to be following to go to pharmacy to buy some medicine. So I kind of carried that holistic upbringing through medical school, where I learned that not only alcohol but all pharmaceutical drugs, they also get detoxed through our liver. And that kind of like terrified me. So that's why I chose surgery. And I was happy operating on the eyes with people with cataracts. But later, as I moved to the United States, I kind of leaned into more holistic medicine, into metabolic health, into ketogenic diets, into carnivore. And I learned that metabolic health affects even your cataracts. So honestly, as you start unwrapping the whole, going deeper, the root causes, then you understand that sugar is really a problem. And if you would remove sugar and you would switch to low carb diet, a lot of problems would probably just disappear and you become healthy and vibrant self.
A lot of people think they're addicted to sugar. And in your work, what does the science actually show when you hear that statement?
Science has been around for quite some time, in the 70s and in the 80s. Dr. Wortman from MIT studied role of serotonin in our sugar carb cravings. And back then it was proven that low serotonin drives those cravings. And, until this day, we know that, but there is not much, I would say, pharmaceutical interest because you cannot patent amino acids. So this is a therapy that has been used in addiction centers all over the world in the United States. And if it works on hard drugs, sugar responds to amino acids as well.
I read that anxiety and sugar cravings often live in the same space. Talk a little bit about that biochemical link between them and why is it that they travel together?
So we have four major neurotransmitters that amino acid therapy can tackle. So serotonin would be the first one. It's our natural antidepressant. And it honestly regulates a lot of things from your mood, anxiety included, and also your sleep because serotonin at night turns into melatonin, right? Then there is another neurotransmitter called GABA. GABA is a gamma aminobutyric acid, which is our own tranquilizer. So those two would be the main ones that would control anxiety or lack of it.
Mhm.
And then we have other neurotransmitters, and everybody heard of dopamine. In addiction field, a lot of people just say, "Oh, it's dopamine. Sugar addiction, it's all about dopamine." But no, actually, it's dopamine and serotonin. Those two kind of go together. And then we also have endorphins. Endorphins, it's our painkiller system. And people who low on endorphins, they're usually very sensitive people.
Mm.
So they have usually, again, a history of prolonged physical or mental pain, which drains your endorphins. And again, with the targeted acid therapy, you can restore your endorphin levels, and then you would not be like tearful at no reason or super sensitive again to any physical pain and not seeking substances that would bring you so-called anesthesia or relief. And it can be anything from alcohol
Mhm.
to dairy because casomorphin is morphin-like substance or gluteomorphin. Again, it's a morphin-like substance. So a lot of people love pizza or, mac and cheese.
Oh.
So this could be signs of low
Mhm.
endorphins.
Interesting. Yeah. So let's go a little bit, I guess, deeper there for our listeners. You're teasing us a little bit with what it might look like to a listener for them to see if maybe there's some kind of biochemical imbalance. Just curious, as you're working with patients or helping people navigate this space, what are some other things to help listeners maybe recognize that there is some type of imbalance potentially going on here?
Well, if a woman is younger and has her period, it's
Yes.
so very common to have those PMS moods,
Yeah.
right? And when your cravings for sweets kind of like go through the roof and your moods are swinging and you might be irritable, angry for no apparent reason. But actually, what happens, your serotonin
Mm.
drops. So that would be one of the signs that your serotonin might be low. Then, if you're anxious all the time, and with anxiety, here's an interesting thing. I used to be anxious myself, and I had what I call like kind of like a background, default anxiousness,
Yes.
which I was not even aware of. And now that I'm teaching doctors, pretty much everybody has it.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a low degree, anxiety in your
Mm.
background. But when something happens, it goes completely through the roof. So a function of low serotonin. And if your sleep is not great, it's also low serotonin. And what's happening with serotonin in the morning, it's at its highest. So I used to live in California and I would go for a walk at 8 a.m. in the morning. And if I see people with sour faces at 8 a.m., I could tell that they have an issue with serotonin because, again, in the morning, you're supposed to be your
Mm.
happiest. So just watch for those people. And
Yes.
then at 12 o'clock at noon, your serotonin starts dropping. So,
Yes.
what's very common for people who have cravings, they don't stuff their
Mm.
faces in the morning with cakes and whatever donuts, but it's usually something happens in the second part of the day, towards evening, or even, at night.
Yes.
So this is a function of serotonin, not only dopamine.
Fascinating. I know for me, as you were sharing, I As a trauma survivor, so many things in my day to day that I very much for a while was probably that grumpy person you would have walked past in the morning. But I so often question, is this my personality? Is this my trauma response? Is this my brain chemistry? And it's like there's all these things that it feels like it could be. And so, just from a general standpoint, what is your kind of input to people that are like me, that just something's off? And sometimes, like traditional medicine just treats symptoms. That very much was my experience for many years. And in treating symptoms, they very much missed the root cause. And it took me years trying to get a root cause diagnosis. How can people be their own advocate to notice they're that person not smiling in the morning and to actually go and do the work to identify truly what that root cause is?
I would say most people, and especially women, we are protein deficient.
Mm,
And amino acids, they're building blocks of
yeah.
protein. So if you especially like think about yourself and compare to yourself that you used to be, maybe happy, sleeping well, really smiling, not really being anxious, right? So if you see that something happened and your mood changed, and especially if there was some sort of event, right? Maybe some stressful event, because what happens during stress really burns through those neurotransmitters. We need more.
Yes.
And if you notice this connection, then you might think about that you might be low in amino acids. But you actually can even Google amino acid therapy
Mhm.
chart, because I'm not inventor of the methodology. It's a wonderful Julia Ross, a psychotherapist from San Francisco. And the therapy been around for 35 years plus. It's super safe. But again, you can Google the chart and see your symptoms. So you can totally like self diagnosed, or you can, get some of her books. There's the latest one, The Craving Cure. So this is what happened to me. I stumbled upon her book in the bookstore and never looked back, because to me, to a physician, I never seen honestly anything like that that would be so effective, because when we work with clients, not only we diagnose them, but then we tailor those amino acids. So we test in a Zoom session, like we're sitting in front of each other, and we really tailor the dose, because ahead of time, I never know which dose you need. And then the magic happens, your symptoms start going away. And people who thought that their anxiety, their like grumpiness was kind of like the way they were or they are, they're starting to realize that this was their biochemical makeup.
How do you, so a little bit of a just medical kind of question of how do you assess the makeup of a person's biochemical makeup? Is it a simple blood test?
So you can do a blood test. Yes, that's possible. But we do like in times, the doctors were asking about
Yeah.
symptoms. So we have a chart with the symptoms. So we go one by
Yeah.
one, and a person rates their symptoms from
Mm,
0 to 10. And I often say, let's say a first symptom of serotonin is depression and negativity. And I say, let's say at the moment you have 2 or 3, but then in the past, maybe you were 9 or 10. So you can put 2 numbers. So that would give me an idea how they were over a period of time. This is really important to me as a
yeah, of
doctor,
course.
because not only I'm looking at you at the moment, I really want to know what you experienced in the past.
Yes. Oh, of course. That makes sense. And so, thinking of you as a doctor and you with peers also that are doctors, as you walk in and help physicians learn about this, and you walk into a room of medical professionals, what are some of the ahas that the medical profession even has when it comes to talking about amino acids?
Well, again, doctors have the same tools like, here in
Yeah, of
Europe. It's
course.
antidepressants or, psychotropic drugs. And not everybody is ready for
Mm,
them, right?
yeah.
And I mentioned that background, low grade anxiety, pretty much every woman has. And for example, very common PMS irritability. So very common cravings at the end of the week or at the end of the day. And doctors are kind of like, how to say, they're maybe even ashamed to admit somebody was craving some alcohol, somebody were craving sweets and baking them for family members just to say, I'm doing it for them, but they were doing it for
Yeah.
themselves.
Yeah. So as a patient starts working on this, what do the cravings do? Would we still have some cravings or are the cravings quieted? What does it look like as you're addressing this?
It'll slowly go away.
Yes.
But pretty much again, like when we test in the first session, when we test amino acids,
Hmm.
we see craving disappear like in front of your eyes.
Wow.
And it's pretty remarkable. In the United States, amino acids are called amazing aminos. Same words people say for them in Europe as
Yeah.
well.
Wow. Fascinating. So if somebody right now is in their own kind of messy middle with tons of cravings, maybe anxiety, exhaustion, maybe that feeling grumpy in the morning, where would somebody start to explore this? And is it a traditional kind of medicine path, or is there, I guess, what would the path look like to begin working on this for yourself?
I would say you probably want to honestly ask yourself, is my health important to
Mm.
me? And do I want to have it fixed? Because, again, from my experience, I see so many women, we tend to needs of our children, of our partners, husbands, and we kind of put ourselves on a back burner. And I would say that mask example, right? That we put the mask on ourselves. I was just like thinking when my kids were born, I started driving slower. I need I need to raise them.
Yes.
So if you do have a good protein
Yeah.
intake, you probably do not need meat, but very few women do. So I encourage you to watch your protein intake and start your breakfast with a good protein portion of something, right? It can be anything. And then again, if you do have experience, if you do have those symptoms, I would encourage you to reach out and perhaps invest in a few weeks, a few months of therapy because your mental clarity, calmness, they can be yours again.
Yes.
And life with calmness, without anxiety. Anxiety, I would say it's so draining. It's so energy consuming. I remember from those anxiety days. And when you do not have to spend your mental energy on that, all of a sudden you get a lot of new energy. And this is also one of the benefits of amino acid therapy. You also improve your cognitive ability. And of course, along with the acid therapy, we usually suggest that people switch to lower carb diet
Mhm.
because, of course, did mention the neurotransmitters that amino acids are building, but there is also sugar swing induced anxiety, and you have to address that because swinging sugar would give you inflammation, would give you metabolic syndrome, which can be from prediabetes, insulin resistance, all the way to cancer, dementia. This is what I'm scared most of, dementia, because if your brain is gone, game over.
We're going to shift in a minute to our rapid reel section, which is just some fast, kind of no overthinking type, simpler questions. But I wanted to end this section on a hot topic that certainly in the US, I would think in Switzerland as well, and that is GLP-1s and all of the Ozempics and Wegovy's and Manjaros, all of those. Curious when you mentioned for those of us, I grew up with insulin resistance by having polycystic ovary syndrome was where mine stemmed from. Curious from the kind of a physician perspective, where you see the intersection with amino acids, GLPs, and maybe just your own personal perspective on how they exist in kind of modern medicine.
Well, as a physician, I remember first do not
Yes,
harm.
yes.
And I know that even though we know of side effects of them, some people use them at the lower
Hmm.
doses and being successful. So I just believe some people will be seeking magic bullets
Yes.
because amino acid therapy is not for everybody.
Yeah.
You need to commit some time. You need to be okay to take supplements. So it's a process of few weeks
Yeah.
or a few months. So again, it's not for
Of
everybody.
course.
If a person has an opportunity to heal the way they want to be healed, there is traditional Chinese medicine, but there's so many alternative medicine approaches. And I think everybody should just choose what they would like to, but to sit on not doing anything, that's not a winning strategy.
Mhm. Yes, I mentioned that this fits within the framework we talk about here a lot. And this is really like listening to your body to come up with what your unique healing needs are. And instead of ignoring those, my process is doing all the research I can, talking to professionals like you, and then identifying as a patient my gut feeling on what feels after doing the research, what feels most aligned with what my body is saying it needs. Very much appreciate that.
Totally. I agree with you because amino acid therapy works exactly the same way. This is personalized medicine that
Yes.
we talk
Yeah.
about. Like you and I and somebody else, or even the same person
Yeah.
in winter and summer, under stress, on vacation, they have totally different needs. So it all needs to be tailored.
Very much. Okay, so a little bit about you then. For Rapid Reel, the first one of these is a craving that you used to have that you no longer identify with.
Oh my God. So I had this dream that I need to lose like last 10 kilos, 20 pounds or 25
Yeah.
pounds. And I went on a very drastic diet, which was actually, it was not very smart, but in the medical school, they don't really teach you nutrition. So that's how you fall for all those kind of people, not very honest. And I did lose the weight, but the diet was so low on calories. It was also low on protein.
Mm.
So I felt like I even talk about it on my website. I felt like I also lost my brain, seriously.
Yes.
And I developed uncontrollable, unstoppable craving for Norwegian crisp breast from Trader Joe's. And I never had it before, so I was really puzzled. I'm like, oh, my body's missing
Oh.
something. My body needs something. I totally did not know what it was going on with me. So then my weight started creeping up. I discovered ketogenic diet. It was 2017. Everybody was talking about. I started going to conferences, but ketogenic diet is very hearty, very
Mhm.
nutrient rich. So my weight is going up. And now I try to fast. I see it gives me anxiety.
Yeah.
Never had it before. So then I stumbled upon the same book in a bookstore. I bought it. I'm like, this is a thick book. I'm working full time, have no time to read. So half a year later, the book is still not read. I call the clinic, make an appointment, and I will look it back because my drugs were dairy and nuts. I like them, but I just watched during that testing session as my cravings would fade away. And that was a aha moment because
Yes.
again, I never seen anything. It felt like magic.
Yes. Oh, I love that. So here's the opposite, I guess, the flip of that question. What is a food now that was nourishing to you, maybe calms your brain? What is your go-to when you just need because I feel like there still has to be a little bit of that emotional eating just to bring comfort. So what is that food for you that's nourishing?
I love red meat because now
Mhm.
I know that red meat is the most nutrient dense.
Yes.
And I love lamb, I love beef. Now I love I want to learn how to make
Yeah.
them. And this is what's happening with my clients as well, because they start craving our human species appropriate foods. That would be again steak and
Oh,
broccoli,
yeah.
for example, somebody would say, right? So when your brain is in balance, you really start craving again normal foods that humans been eating for ages.
Yeah, I loved that you referenced steak tartare because the biggest we talked before we recorded about your beautiful country of Switzerland, and I visited Lucerne, and it was in Lucerne where I saw the biggest plate of beef tartare that I had ever seen before. And I do steak tartare, but just maybe a little bit. I feel like now I might have to start upping my dose a little and see if I can enjoy it now too. I'm very focused on getting as much protein as I can. And so maybe that's going to be a path for me.
Good for you. And I want to admit that I inspired one of my Parisian friends to explore tartares because
Yes.
they can be done in many different
Okay,
ways.
good to know.
So you keep on trying them until you find the one that you adore.
Okay, that sounds good. Okay, do you have a morning ritual or a bedtime ritual that helps keep your brain steady?
I
Oh, my husband and I are very familiar. We love Wim Hof. Yes.
So last summer in Köln, he had a big workshop. It was for the whole day. So we made, world records, 3,000 people plus,
Yeah.
all breathe, exercise together, and then went into this icy bath. And that was kind of like life changing. And
Wow.
I live by the lake. So I thought, let me see if I really want to continue. But no, I didn't want to continue. the winter. It just wasn't comfortable. But I do continue to take cold showers,
Yes.
and I even record myself in cold showers.
I love that. That's great.
And I know I post them in stories, and people get inspired because it's really not difficult if you start doing it in summer,
Yeah.
and it's pretty comfortable. And then it just continues through the winter. And then I'm, of course, myself on a low carb diet. I'm on a carnivore, not a strict one, but I don't have to. But again, low sugar already prevents you from all the seasonal things. Wim Hof, in addition to, and I also love his breathing,
Hmm.
those breathing retentions. It just feels like it kind of, cleans up my mitochondria,
Hmm.
and it just feels very good. I
Yes.
feel like I even get the energy from those breathing exercises. So I love them.
I'm excited to watch your stories now and get inspired to start taking a cold shower. I'm almost a scalding hot kind of shower person, and I'm intrigued to see if I can ever have this transition to cold showers. We'll see. It may make my showers quicker.
You can do it super quick. Wintertime is probably not the best time to start, maybe in spring or in summer, but you can still do your maybe hands, your feet. It's all
Oh,
good.
good. All right. I'm feeling inspired today to try some new things. What's a myth you do think about willpower that you wish would just go away?
So one neurologist said biochemistry rules or determines our behavior. And if you think about it, your brain, your head is really a control, like the control tower.
Yes.
And if you agree with this statement, the next thing would be how can we adjust our brain, neurotransmitters, brain biochemistry? How can we bring it into balance?
Mhm.
And then you calm, you're strong willed, you're not tempted by junk foods. And it's as simple as that.
Oh, thank you for that. Before we get to our final question, is there anything that we didn't touch on that you'd like to share with our listeners? And then also, if you could just share how you recommend people connect with you and your work. And just so you know, we'll also share links and stuff when I promote the episode.
Well, I'm pretty much everywhere: TikTok, Instagram, my website, Facebook. So it's not really difficult to find me. I really would like to maybe touch upon a little bit on pain
Please,
perception
yes.
because what I often see in my practice, and I just wanted to share with you again, I saw a couple years ago a young lady. She was 32. She was diagnosed with fibromyalgia. So she had three children, and she would spend her weekend sitting on the couch because she was in so much pain. And I'm like, well, you're just only so young, let's try amino acids. She was low on all those neurotransmitters. So serotonin would be the main one.
Mhm.
I call it even umbrella neurotransmitter because what happens as you raise serotonin levels, all other neurotransmitters go up too. Okay. So serotonin is really critical in your pain perception. Then we have GABA, which I mentioned is our own tranquilizer. You probably know when you have general anesthesia, you also have drugs that relax your muscles. So, if you tense, your pain is stronger. So you need GABA too. And then endorphin system, which again is our own built-in painkiller system. And here you also have amino acids that help to raise it. And all those three together made wonders for this woman. We just tested amino acids and her pains went away. I also had clients who were older in their 60s and had, for example, rheumatoid arthritis. So this would be an inflammation autoimmune process because this is a painful process. There are neurotransmitters who are trained. So one of those ladies who were in her 60s with amino acid therapy, we restored her neurotransmitter levels. She stopped using her strong painkillers, and I have many more stories like that. And it's really amazing. I had a boy who was a teenager. He had migraines. Again, he was low on the neurotransmitters. Once you restore those, and I'm very passionate working with children because they have, the whole life ahead of
Mhm.
them and they just live differently.
Oh, that is wonderful. I would love to hear more of those stories. And as somebody that grew up with chronic pain, and in adulthood, I am finding health markers and other ways to manage my pain instead of pain medicine. But to have had an ally as a child that focused on some of this work really would have been life changing for me. So I'm really passionate about the work you're doing. So thank you for sharing that. And thank you for being here with us today. Our last question is, our listeners right now, there might be some who find themselves at their messy middle or a low point that feels like rock bottom. Just wondering, in your own life, when you found yourself at those low points, what's a piece of advice that you wish would have come sooner?
I totally did not know anything about brain biochemistry. And maybe if you're considering antidepressants, look into amino acids first because they work as a mild but very effective alternative to those psychotropic drugs without side effects.
I love that. Well, Dr. Regina, it was so nice to meet you. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us today. And to our listeners, a reminder, we really focused today on leaning to your unique healing needs. Just some small ways to do that is to start checking in with your body in a shower or on a walk. Just start listening to your body. Recognize if you're one of those folks that's feeling maybe not so happy in the morning, and just start checking in with yourself to start getting that compass to where something might be off. And then just stay open to solutions that you may not know about yet. That might be checking in with your doctor, checking in with friends, reading up on Dr. Regina's work, Googling, and just checking in with your symptoms. But there's a path for you to not have to be stuck in that feeling. Take care of yourself, and until next time, stay messy. Thank you for joining us. Before we wrap today, I want to invite you to be part of the Becoming is Messy community. Subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss a single episode. And if there's anything that resonates with you, please leave a review. Your feedback means the world to me, and it helps other people find this community. Follow me on social media. I'd love to hear your ideas for future topics, your questions, and stories from your own messy moments. And if you're feeling inspired, check out the Becoming is Messy shop, where you can grab a mug, a t-shirt, or something else that reminds you to embrace your messy magic every single day. A huge thank you to the incredible Wolves and Sheep for providing the music for Becoming is Messy. Check them out on your favorite music streaming platform. As we close out today's episode, remember this: messy is just another word for growing. So keep showing up, keep laughing, and keep making beautifully awkward progress. Until next time, stay messy, my friends.